A Perfectly Normal Family is a Danish drama directed by Malou Raymond, and we're reviewing it today on Boys on Film. I'm delighted to welcome back Sean from Unflopped, who's joining us.
Very excited to talk about this movie.
Loosely based, and I think this is quite interesting, on the director's own experiences with her trans father, and I think she was the same age as one of the characters in this movie called Emma, who was 11 when this happened, when her father transitioned as well. So autobiographical, slightly.
That's very interesting you say that, because, well, the setup, for the listeners, is you've got a classic 2.4 children kind of setup. It is truly a perfectly normal family, middle class, Danish. Their setup is ordinary in a way because it's so normal. And then you follow the story of Thomas transitioning to Agnete, and how that impacts not only on Agnete but also on the other members of the family. And so I find it very interesting that it's loosely based on Emma's character, because I think Emma is the one that carries the weight in the film, and often you see the story through her eyes, and at times the difficulties through her eyes as well. Just to set the scene, there is an older sister called Caro, who's a bit more kind of like, if Emma's kind of like the tomboy, Caro is a bit more kind of like pop videos and singing into a hairbrush, and they're very different children. And I think you said it's delicately handled. There were some kind of interesting moments that I picked out for me, because at times you think, wow, Denmark's so liberal, everyone's just very accepting of Agnete. Agneta's still going to the football matches because Emma's a huge football fan, and Agneta's there. And everyone's kind of very cool, but then you have these moments where you go, wait a minute, and they're cleverly placed. There's a moment where Anita's father-in-law is making a speech for Caroline's confirmation. And during the speech, there is an element of dead naming, and there is an element of mispronouns. And so suddenly you go, okay, there's the generational thing here. And then there's also the moment with Emma where she gets bullied by the kids at school. And so you get these windows of kind of like what appears to be everyone being incredibly liberal and open, and then these kind of snippets of like moments of real life, really quite pointed real life. And I think they're placed quite well across the story.
Throughout the movie, I kept thinking, this is so great. It's so refreshing to have a really positive feeling movie about this story, because I think a lot of films up until this point have been kind of tragedies, and I think it's quite nice to have a positive feeling movie like this. But obviously you're right, because there's sprinklings of reality that bring it back to you, and you think, actually, yeah, this does go on. And you say about being in Denmark more liberal doesn't maybe happen so much there. You don't get the hostility, but I think you obviously do because it happens everywhere. But I just think that it's a nice balance. It's a more positive balance, I think, that shows them dealing with the problems as opposed to the hostility from other people. The emphasis isn't on them; it's on the people that are experiencing it.
Yeah. There's an amazing moment early on where Emma and Caro are introduced to Agnete for the first time.
I wanted to mention that as well, because I thought that was really powerful, the way it was shot as well. But go on.
That's why I want to talk about this, the way it was shot, the cinematography, because at one point Caro doesn't want to meet Agnete at all, and she puts a scarf around her head. And it's really interesting because the people at home watching don't meet Agnete.
She's blurred in front, and you see
she's kind of blurred around. And as she unveils the scarf, the audience meet Agnete at the same time as Emma, which I think it was so beautifully done.
Really good, really powerful.
Yeah.
And you just see the viewpoints from the left to the right, and they keep flipping back and forth. So you kind of feel like you're in the room, and you're not seeing Agnete either. It's like a gradual process, isn't it? As they're coming to terms with it as well. Can I just quickly ask you though about your views on cis man playing a trans role? Because it's a controversial point, I think, for so many people, rightfully so, I think. But I just wonder, with the director's own experiences going through a similar thing, I wonder why a trans woman wasn't up for the role, or maybe a trans woman did audition, but maybe it was down to talent. I don't know. It's really hard, isn't it?
It's an interesting one, because if you my natural gut says hire a trans woman for the role. That's my natural instinct. But when I think about Call Me By Your Name, the director of Call Me By Your Name, sorry, his name passes me by, has made quite a big statement about why he didn't hire gay actors into the roles of the two protagonists. And he said, I'm not hiring a gay man, because gay men, I'm using an adjacent idea, but he basically said, gay men are every kind of facet. So trying to hire a gay man is wrong. I'm trying to hire Sebastian, and if Sebastian transpires to be a straight man and can portray that story, then that's the person I'm going to hire. And so they're the two sides of the argument. And I've never really thought about it that way, because I've always thought, well, why aren't you hiring a gay man, or why aren't you hiring a trans woman into those spaces? And so it's been very recently where I've heard this perspective, and I'm not sure whether I agree with it or not, that just says, the director says, I'm hiring the character. And if they are the character, then they can do it justice. And so I don't know. That's where I'm kind of torn. But I would naturally normally lean into, you should be hiring a trans woman into this role.
Yeah, because I feel torn, because I just wonder, with previous experiences of trans actors going for a role that maybe they could only apply for a trans role, they wouldn't necessarily get a cis role.
Of course. So, and I guess there would be some level of unconscious bias, because that same director should be saying, well, I'm going to hire a trans actor into this role because they can play a cis role, because they engender the character. But does that really happen? Probably not, if I'm being blunt. So I think there's a little bit of unconscious bias in this conversation around casting.
So we should say Agnete is played by Mikkel Bo Folsgaard, a Danish actor who is married with two children in real life. I don't know if you saw The Rain. He was in a TV sci-fi drama called The Rain, and a lot of the actors in this movie were in the same show.
Okay,
so that's interesting.
I haven't seen that, actually. I tell you what I did find quite interesting, though, was the interaction between parent and child. So the interaction between Agnete and Emma, I think, really is the backbone of the film for me, because in some ways, Emma is okay. The transition doesn't affect her in a way. What Emma misses is the connection she has with a parent. And some of that, the activities that they do together as the film goes on, become more and more, they kind of ebb away. And that's, I think, for Emma, and it's interesting that you say that it's loosely based on this, that you can see the pain of saying, I don't really care, you're still like this important figure in my life, but these are the things that we did together. And as they become less and less, that's where I think you feel the real kind of like torment in Emma's character.
Absolutely, yeah. She really is the prominent character, I think, in this movie. Like you say, it's Kaya Toft Laholt, who is the actress. I think she's phenomenal in this. Yeah, I was amazing. Really blown away by her performance. And she doesn't necessarily say much, but she cries, and you see the turmoil in her face. You see her really just being wrung out. It's a really emotional performance, and I think she handles it brilliantly. I don't know how old she is in real life. I'm guessing maybe a little bit older, 13, 14, 15. But I think she's phenomenal in this. Phenomenal.
Yeah, I found that was for me, the crux of that whole story was about their relationship, and what had affected their relationship, because it wasn't what you would perceive to be the obvious. It was actually nuanced. And as Agnete stepped away from some of the kind of gender roles that she had been forced to play or forced to be, and becoming her authentic self, you see that not through Anita's eyes, but actually through Emma's eyes.
Yeah.
And that's where I thought was really incredibly powerful.
I think it also demonstrates what children ask and how their ideals are different to their elders' ideals. There's one moment in it where they're in a salon having a manicure. Well, Agneta's having a manicure, and they're having this kind of banter back and forth about their family, and there's this kind of awkward situation where, in obviously Anita's mind, that is the normality, but in Emma's mind it's different, because she's struggling to come to terms with everything, and she's still thinking of her dad.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of moments like that. The salon moment is is quite poignant. There's another moment where Anita's hanging out with one of the other mums on the beach, and they're just kind of like having fun and flirting, and Emma's trying to kind of check her and say, why are you doing this? And in some ways, Anita's just thinking, I'm living my life. This is, I don't need to correct somebody. I'm actually being able to be my authentic self. And so I'm just going to roll with it. And I think there's a few moments like that where you see Agnete just being Agnete for the first time. And it's a powerful movie. I think it's done very well.
I thought it was fantastic. Marks out of 10, I would have to give it 8.
We're going to say the same again.
Hey, we got to stop doing this.
No, it's really dull for everyone. But it's a great movie. It deserves an 8.
Absolutely. So it's A Perfectly Normal Family. It's released on the 2nd of October. The UK release date is the 2nd of October. It's going to be in cinemas and also streaming on Modern Films and other platforms as well. Don't forget to give this video a like if you have enjoyed it, and subscribe for more movie reviews. We've got the BFI London Film Festival coming up. We are chomping at the bit to get into that, aren't we, Sean?
Can't wait. It's going to be with us very soon. You're going to be bombarded with reviews because we've got so much to talk about. There's some incredible films in that festival coming up.
Can't wait to do it. Good to see you, Sean.
Thank you, Phil. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for watching. See you next time.